sharing with you a small presentation. What I intend to do is actually go into the presentation, and after that, I will also take you into the list of modules so that we can look at the modules that the International Business Law program offers. Thereafter, we will go into the Q&As. I'm just sharing my screen with you. I hope you can all view that. Right, so, and you've got my name there in case you need to make note of it. So the first question that many students have about embarking on a program of study, especially an LLM and LLM at this point of time as well, is actually what program should I apply for? Because as you know, CCLS and the Department of Law together, known as the School of Law, has many specializations, and something that bothers many students is what specialization, what program should I apply for? So let me try and tell you why you should be thinking of international business law. It might well be that at the end of this, you feel that, yes, it is something for you and it is something that you would really like to take on. I think many of you probably have an interest in business law or commercial and corporate law. I'm also the co-convener for commercial and corporate law. And I think many students that have an interest in this area elect either to go for international business law or for commercial and corporate law. Now, the distinction between them is that if you go for commercial and corporate law, you actually, much of the modules are very similar, but one of the things that international business law offers is that many of the modules have an international perspective. So there is either a comparative or a global perspective that you will get with international business law. Now, the next question that you have is, why should I be doing international business law at the School of Law at Queen Mary? So here, I think what I can tell you is that, it's just two things. The first is that we have, and let me just move this slide up so that, yes, we have a world-class curriculum. We are well known for international business law and commercial and corporate law. The Roy Good Center, which is the Center for Commercial Law, which is part of Queen Mary and part of the School of Law, is well recognized in the commercial, corporate and business law spheres. So coming to the School of Law at Queen Mary and then saying that you've done international business law is going to give you an edge, because the specialists that teach you, the curriculum, the program are well known, not only in London, but internationally. The next point is that we have a long tradition of teaching and also doing research. We have a world-class research university. I don't know if any of you have been keeping up with the QS rankings and also the rankings within the UK. QM and the School of Law in particular have been doing really well with their rankings, and we have a long tradition in teaching and research in this field. Now, going on, this is also a similar question that I pose here, but here I'm saying not just at QM. Why would you want to, as an LLM student coming in, why would you want to study international business law? Now, here I think there are three reasons. The first is that you have the opportunity to engage with leading experts in this field. And what I mean is not just academics. Most of our programs, most of our modules draw upon practitioners. As you know, our School of Law, the postgraduate campus, is located at Lincoln's Inn Fields. This is in the heart of legal London. And so we draw upon barristers, legal practitioners at law firms to come in and, do guest lectures or either co-teach on a module. Some time ago, I used to do the corporate insolvency module on the LLM program, and I used to co-teach it with a barrister. Our module used to take place 6 to 8 p.m., but this was because, it was to accommodate his timing as well. And I think the students gained immensely from that interaction with a practitioner who was able to then know about latest developments in the field. The next point that I want to know about studying international business law, not just at QM, but as a program for yourself, is that as a student, you've got to think of, what you would want to do next, and having an edge in the global economy is extremely important today. And as you know, it's a globalized world, and I mean, this is something I don't have to tell you, but knowing how things work internationally is increasingly important. So this means that not just knowing one particular jurisdiction, but knowing how the law works in different jurisdictions and being able to apply that law across borders is important. The third point I have to make with regard to why you should pick up this international business law module, program, is that upon completion, it gives you the options of not only selecting a study in or a career path in law, but also, if you want to, and many of our students go into regulatory fields, they go into advisory fields, so going back to their home countries and advising the governments, or they go into a private practice, or they go into a non-governmental organization where they are able to use the skills and the knowledge that they have gained at Queen Mary, and they might not be working in a legal sense, but maybe law with business or law with regulation. So this is the edge that international business law would be bringing you. Now, going on, and here I'm going to focus on the structure of the program. Of course, as you're well aware, we've had to actually make changes to our traditional program that we offer. Now, the LLM in business law and all our LLMs, for the most part, all our programs, will be offering both a full year program and an accelerated 9-month program. Now, what does this mean? So full year program, we intend to start, we will be starting, not intend, we will be starting in September. Of course, it could be that you might not be able to be here in September, but we are offering a full online blended method of teaching. So you can, if you do pick up this program, you can come in at any point of time and join the program. If you do the accelerated 9-month program, this would be where we would be starting in January. Now, whatever program you would be picking up, whether it is a full year starting in September or the 9 months starting in January, you'd still need to take 180 credits of modules. Now, in the full year program, the dissertation is optional. So this is elective, and it is a 30 credit elective dissertation. There is flexibility with the modules and the cross modules. In the 9-month program, we will be offering 60 credits by dissertation, and this is a dissertation of 15,000 words. Now, the accelerated 9-month program might not be for everyone, because we are in 9 months, we are trying to cram in what we would traditionally do in a full year program. So you will have to think very hard about this is something you would be going for, but these two options are available to you, and I'm sure Petrova can also advise you further on your individual positions. Now, going on to the modules in LLM, in International Business Law, we have a wide range of modules, and I have just put in the link. I will go into that in a minute, but let me just look at some of what we consider to be core modules in this area or in this program of study. Now, we have International Commercial Law, which is a very popular module. This is one of our core modules, and a lot of students that take up International Business Law take up this module as well. We also offer company law, and this is divided into two modules. So we look at foundational and constitutional issues in one semester, and this for the 2021 academic year, we will be looking at company law of SOLM 020 in the January semester, and we will also be looking at SLM 21, which is corporate finance and management, also in the January semester. So they will be side by side. We also offer two modules on corporate governance, one looking at the foundational and theoretical issues, the other one which is actually looking at case studies and operational issues, so looking at corporate governance in practice. So these are some of the very popular modules within this program. There is also Comparative Contract Law, which is actually quite an interesting module, and the students here engage in a comparative contract law, so looking at core issues in contract law and looking at them in a comparative sense, with a comparison with the EU law, and also with the UK law and other jurisdictions as time permits within that module. We also offer, in an international setting, mergers and acquisitions, which is another popular module within this program, and international financial law. Let me just also take you to the module page, which I'm sure many of you would have already gone into. But if you just go down to International Business Law, you will see that we've already put down what we intend to cover during semester 1, which is the teaching period, which is September to December. Now, some of these would actually be repeated at some other semesters as well. So in the teaching period, of course, the core modules will start in the January semester, because that is one way in which we can ensure that the students who either take up the September entry or the January entry will have the option of taking up these core modules. And then, of course, we have a third semester, which is June to 7th of June to 9th of July. And here you have some interesting modules as well. In particular, in this semester, you have the corporate rescue and the cross-border insolvency, which I was talking about before, and also modules in international tax, digital intellectual property, and so on. So this is actually the program and the modules that you would be able to take if you do take up international business law. You can also click on each of these, and you would be able to find out more about each module. Of course, when you come in and you have your induction, or you'll have, I mean, if you're joining us online, you will have an online induction at which you will have the opportunity to listen to the module conveners for each of these modules, so that you get a sense of what is on offer. Now, let me just, I'm finishing up here. So let me just go back to my PowerPoint. Right, so thank you very much for listening to me patiently. I think I have said, I've given you a short introduction into this program of study. And as you know, there is many options for you within the School of Law as to which program to pick. I wish all of you the very best in whatever you do, whether it is international business law or another module, another program of study. But I hope to see you all in London at some point of time, either in September or between September and January, or in January. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Shalini, can we just go through some of the questions in the Q&A box? I
Yes.
think some of the audience have, and it's something that students ask about is, can I know more about the arbitration modules in the international business law? So I'm assuming they are talking about the option to choose some of those arbitration modules. Now, I know you're not the lecturer in those areas, but I think it'd be nice to elaborate on how they can mix and match.
Yes. So let me, shall we do it in the order? Okay, so I see that as one of the first questions. Yes. Yes. Okay, so someone wants to know about the arbitration module. So there are different modules that are offered within the arbitration program. I mean, you can take that as a specialization. So you can take that as a program of study, or you can actually pick modules. So even if you end up doing international business law, there are certain arbitration modules that are available to you. I mean, what exactly is offered within each arbitration module will depend very much on what particular module is available to you within your program of study. So for example, I mean, let me just take, I'm not screen sharing here, but if you go into your program of study options, and if you, I'm just trying to take you into international. I'm just trying to take you into, okay, so for example, in the June-July period, we have alternative dispute resolution selected issues. Now, here you will have specialized issues arising in dispute resolution process. So this would be looking at, the role of lawyers, looking at issues of globalization, the transplantation of ADR systems, and so on. Now, this is selected issues. So a student who wishes to take this, I would say, would need to have some knowledge of ADR if you are thinking of this. So likewise, I mean, I think, again, in international business law, we have another module on arbitration, which is, let me just go into this. Where did I see that now? Yes, there's an ethics one that I wanted to talk about, which is again in, I think, in the third semester. Yes. So in the third semester, we have 049, which is ethics in international arbitration. So here it's the focus is on arbitration, but from an ethical perspective. Now, if you look at it, if you go into a detailed description of the module, you'll see that it's only applicable in certain program groupings. So you can only do this module if you actually take up LLM in either commercial and corporate law, comparative and international dispute resolution, or international business law. Now, those students who are, so these are the three programs that make available this module. So those students who actually want to just do a specialized LLM in arbitration would take up LLM in comparative and international dispute resolution, which then would be, you would graduate with that program of study as your specialization. Now, if you are, of course, doing an LLM in international business law, you might think, well, I do know a little bit about arbitration, so let me just pick up a little bit on ethics in arbitration or something to add to it. And you might be taking this because, you know, you've come to the third semester and you think, well, it's a mix and match, and I would like to have some ADR in my transcript. And this might be a reason you might pick this up. Does that kind of answer the question on? that was raised?
Yeah. Let's move on to another question.
Yes.
Because this is a common one, I think, when people ask what's the difference between international commercial and corporate law and international business.
Yes. And I think I started off, I do realize that a lot of students, I mean, after I do the induction sessions, I have a lot of students asking me this question as well. And like I said at the beginning, the differences are that commercial and corporate law, we have courses, modules that are focused on UK law only. So it is not so much an international program of study. Whereas in the international business law, we have much more. So for example, we might have a tax law module, which is looking at UK tax law, which is offered for corporate and commercial law. But we might have an international tax law or a US tax law course, which is offered for the international business law program. So that is actually the primary difference. But having said that, I must say that we are offering a great degree of flexibility with module selection this year. I mean, I can't make any promises now, but it is likely that, within the groupings, we will enable students to pick up modules, I mean, of course, within the groupings that are available at the moment, but we will try to ensure that students are able to, whether you're doing international business law, commercial and corporate law, you're able to have greater flexibility in your selection. So I hope that explains it, but commercial and corporate law tends to be more jurisdiction focused, whereas the international business law is international and comparative. Right, going on, if you're not able to come in September, but in November, we'll be able to have face-to-face experience for this first semester starting in November only. Actually, we will start in September. So if you do come in November, you will be coming in midway. But this does not mean that you missed out, because at this point of time, you should have been following. I mean, we'll be making everything available online. So what you're saying is the quarantine restrictions or whatever means that you can't physically get here. So even though you're joining us at that point of time, you would have enrolled for a September entry, you would have had online teaching happening, you would have had access to all our resources that we're going to make available to all our students, whether they are face-to-face or online. And because we are using a blended method of teaching, when you join in November, you will be able to just seamlessly come in to the program and benefit from the face-to-face interaction that is being offered. Right, I hope that answers that. So let's go on. I'm trying to see what is next. Is the M&A module going to be available for students starting in September? Right, now that is a very specific question. I think that I have to check this because the M&A, some of the M&A modules were pulled from the program. So let me just quickly go into, I mean, the reason that some of the programs are, the modules are pulled are because the module conveners or the lecturers might be on a sabbatical. So I'm just trying to find out so that I give you a proper correct answer if this is something that you're very keen about. So starting in September, so if, for example, if the lecturer concerned is on a sabbatical from July to December, then the M&A program would not be running for that particular semester. We do have international merger control, which is different, but if you're interested in mergers, I mean, this is from a competition perspective, and this is actually a very popular course, international merger control. That's another one that you might, and that is running in September. But mergers and acquisitions will be running, whoever has asked me that question will be running 25th, so that's for the second semester, which is the January semester, and not in the first semester. But if you are interested in mergers and acquisitions, and if you're coming in September, I would think that you would be also very interested in international merger control. I mean, we have a eminent professor who runs it, and we also have a very good series of lecture series that runs, which, because we've got a center. It's a near virtual center, because they actually, I mean, recently the competition law center, they actually did a virtual seminar on bringing in speakers from various law firms as well. I mean, it had been very good. I couldn't participate, but so there is a lot to be said for taking up mergers and acquisitions with a competition law perspective. Right, going on. Hi, when we have to choose each module we want to follow. Right, so we ask you to choose your modules at the start of the semesters. And this is because we need to actually make sure that whatever you select, there are no clashes, because not only will you have lectures, you will also have seminars or tutorials. And depending on class size, it will depend on whether it's a seminar or a tutorial. So for example, I teach the company law module. I teach the corporate management and financial issues in company law. I mean, last year, I think I had about 50 students. And in addition to my lectures, I also had small group teaching. And so having you pick your module at the start of the semester ensures that we can actually fit you into those small groups and ensure that whatever you've picked does not have any clashes.
Sorry, can I just quickly just add that for the start of the program, usually the students will have an induction.
Yes.
So you will get the opportunity to attend our probably a virtual induction or an opportunity to see which classes you want to take. So you won't necessarily have to quickly tick them just before you start. You'll get an induction where you can sample the different lessons and then make your decision.
Yes.
Now, normally that is a 2-week process, but because it's we're doing blended learning this September, the school office will let you know how long that will be, because it may not be exactly how it has been in previous years, but you will definitely get an induction. So I just wanted to say
yes,
that. Yeah.
Yes, no, thank you, Petrova, thank you. Yes, that's correct. I mean, we also combine it with a residential induction and so on, but obviously, given how it is, I mean, we go off for a few days, the students have a chance to stay at Cumberland Lodge. And it is a really nice program. But of course, when I said start of the semester, and that's what Petrova was trying to very correctly clarify for you, it's not before in the sense of before you start lectures proper. So it's after the induction. So generally we give 2 weeks. So if it's end of September that you start, I think the deadlines have been like a week or two into the semester. But as Petrova has explained, it would be difficult to tell you how long the induction period would go on for. But I think there's opportunity for you even now to sit in on some sample lectures. And so if you know, this is so that even before you arrive, or even before the inductions, you would be able to get a feel for what the particular module would cover. Right, going on. Is that okay, Petrova?
Yes, yeah. Let's move on because we've got quite a few questions.
Yes. Is international business law offered for a January 2021 intake? Yes, it is, but it would be an intensive one, so it won't be 12 months. So it won't. I mean, I think the question asks, is it a 12-month intake? It wouldn't be. It would be the intensive one. So you would actually finish in September. So you start in January. It's a 9-month. Sorry, Petrova would like to answer this, isn't it?
Okay. Yes. Just to clarify that there will be 2 options. So students can do an accelerated 9-month LLM, which is very intensive. And then there is the opportunity to do a 12-month. So it will start from January and finish in December, but you will have to, so there will be 3 terms. So there will be 2 options for January, whether that will be the 12-month or an accelerated, or you start in September on a 12-month. So we're just trying to be flexible with COVID. Obviously, we know different countries are at different stages, and it's set back people's in lots of different ways. So, and the information about January start is on our website. So we don't want to give you too much detail here because it's all specifically specified to the detail online. Okay.
Yes.
So someone's, yeah, I'll let you go on. Sorry.
Someone's actually said that they can't hear me. But Petrova, you can hear me, so I'm taking it that.
Yes. If anyone else can't hear, maybe if you raise your hands, it may be that particular person's computer, because normally if there is a problem with sound, especially over a prolonged period of time, lots of students will email and say they can't hear. So it may well be, because I can hear you quite clearly and quite loudly. So
okay,
unless other students notify, but I think
yes, I think we'll go on. Hopefully, I mean, it's a message that I think has just come in. So maybe if they restart the computer or something, they might pick up the sound again. Petrova, do you want to answer this one, which is on the highest score, or do you want, I mean?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the highest score,
yes.
I suppose the highest score is a first class.
Yes.
And how many students get those, I don't have those details to divulge. But I think obviously with a master's, I mean, the higher you set your ambition and the harder you work towards it,
Mm-hmm.
the higher the standard, then the likelihood is the higher the grades that you get. And I would say take particular focus if you do a dissertation, or not leaving it as an afterthought, and because there's a lot of credit that can be assigned to the dissertation. So this is a way to improve grade by making sure that you submit a very good and articulate dissertation. But yeah, it's as long as a piece of string, really, to be honest.
Yes. I misunderstood the question. I mean, so I think what the student was asking is, what is the highest that you could get as an LLM student, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay. So I actually understood it as being an entry tariff, but no, you were quite right. So within the LLM, I mean, I bounced it to you because I thought it was an entry tariff, but this is actually within the LLM. We award distinctions, merits, and passes. So a distinction is anything above 70. I've actually just been marking some LLM course essays, which were submitted online this year. It's a variety of marks that we offer, and students do get. I mean, I was very happy to read some excellent essays from my students. So we're quite generous with them. I mean, at least I can only speak for myself, but you can get anything between 70 to 100, which is a distinction in LLM terms. Right. So I think again another question on when we have to choose the modules we want to follow. So that would be after the induction period. What subject in international law is specially actual? I'm not sure I understand that question.
Nor am I, to be honest. Okay. I think maybe the gentleman might need to articulate it a bit more.
Yes, if that can be done. I'm not sure whether this is actually asking us what is actually a core module. Even though I use the term core modules, we don't really say that anything is core, because we don't say that you have to take these modules. You have complete flexibility. But when I use the term core modules, I'm actually thinking of modules that are popular for the program. So for example, things like international commercial law or company law or corporate governance, because the appeal to a LLM student doing international business law to be able to have those on their transcript, and also because of the fact that they intend to go out and work in those areas. These are the modules which are of special appeal. But if you can rephrase, whoever raised that, if you can rephrase it, we can answer you better. The next question is, lectures going to be held face-to-face? Well, it is going to start with blended teaching. And at this point of time, as you know, we are taking it, one day at a time. So we really can't, give you any assurances. Yes.
So there will be blended though. So, the university will be open for business from September. So if you're able to travel, or if you are based in London, you will be able to go in and have face-to-face classes. They will be taking into consideration social distancing. So all of that is being worked out. And if you're not comfortable, or if you're unable to get to the UK, you will be able to have your lessons online as well, with interactive lessons. So for the September term, that first term, you will have the options between face-to-face in our campus or online. But from this, at the end of that semester or that term, the following terms will be based on face-to-face at the moment. So it's not certain that you can remain in your home country and continue learning online. They will assess things on that basis as we go further into COVID.
Yes. Right. So going on, do I have the option to defer to September 2021 if I choose to defer in January 2021?
Yes, you can defer. You just use your application portal and register that you want to defer to September 21. We only normally hold people's offers for 1 year. So if you've deferred from previous years, you may have to make a separate new application to defer to September 2021, because it's a totally new academic year. If this is your first year of applying with an offer, then you are able to defer your place to the new academic year in September 21, and we will hold that place for you. So just to be clear on that, because it won't always apply if you've deferred for previous years.
Yes, but think carefully about, this would be a personal decision, but, it's only I think you should be, I'm speaking as an academic, as a teacher, not quite as a program leader, but, life will be going on, and life will be going on at quite a pace. Once we are through this. So think carefully about what your options are and what the deferment is going to bring to you. If you can actually spend that time productively, then yes. But think about that carefully. But that was just me as an academic voice on that. Can you help me with examinations and dissertation? I'm understanding this question as being, can we help you with exams and dissertations if it is online, or I'm thinking that is what it is about.
I'm just wondering if we can refer to the in-sessional program that we host. So we have an in-sessional program which we run alongside our LLM program, and the in-sessional program will help you in your dissertation. So not in the terms of helping you decide what you're doing, but for some students in their home countries, they have never had to do a dissertation. So we have this session. It will help you in lots of different areas of studying on the LLM program. And we typically offer it to students, especially from overseas, but also to students from the UK. Now, in terms of help with your examinations, I'm not quite certain in what respect that is. So, but in terms of support in your study skills and with your dissertation, we have a program, and you'll find out about that in Induction. Yeah, and that is free. We don't charge you anything extra to do that program. And it's a critical thinking in-sessional program.
Yes, that is actually an excellent one. And if you go into your module page, the program page, I think you will find out some information and a link to it as well. I'm just trying to see if I can go back to it and see if I can bring that up. Somewhere on the assessment, somewhere on this page, there is a link to the critical legal, yes, it is here. So I'll just very quickly, for whoever is asking, I'll share my screen. And let me just pull this out. And then you'll be able to find out more about that. Just minimize that. Right, so it's just here. And this is LLM academic support page, which you can look at as well. It's an excellent program that will help you very much in your dissertation and any essay writing. I mean, many of the courses will have some form of assessment which requires you to write. I mean, the other thing I wanted to mention with regard to support is that, and with the COVID and the lockdown coming at the end of March 20s, we had to support our students online, and we have an online learning platform already that we use with our students. So that's another way in which we support our students, even when we're having face-to-face lectures, or whether it is going to be a blended method of teaching. So for example, I mean, this is personal experience. I used my module page to put out announcements just before during the exam period. We used Microsoft, we used Zoom meetings, and we have the Blackboard system, which allows us to have small group meetings. So I had office hours through that. So these are the ways in which we supported our students with the online learning happening in this situation. And students were very happy. So if one student raised a question which was going to be useful for the other students, I mean, if it was an in-class scenario and a student was to put up their hand and ask a question and I was to respond to that, everyone would have that knowledge at the same time. So how I used it in an online situation was that when a student emailed me with a question, then I would do a module announcement with the complete answer to that. And so the students had a near lecture theatre experience with that. Right, so going on.
Someone is asking about the entry tariff. They've asked if they, because we asked for a 2-1, and do we take students with a 2-2 who also have considerable work experience? If you have considerable work experience, yeah, you can submit that, and the university will review it on a case by case, because they do look quite detailed at if it's relevant work experience. So if you're applying for international business, then they will want to see at least a minimum of, usually about a minimum of 5 years of work experience in that field. So we don't say no, but we can't guarantee, because obviously they will need to go through that experience. But you send a resume, and in your supporting statement, you'll have the detail of how your relevant and considerable work experience. So. Yes,
and Petra was quite right. I mean, it's a case, but I used to be the director of the LLM program for the Department of Law a few years ago. And so it is on a case-by-case basis where the application is made. And as long as you, in your cover letter, explain why the program is going to be relevant to you. And so you have to make it very program specific. So if you want to do asylum and migration law or something, you'd have to make sure why the work experience is relevant to that particular program. So you can't just make it that, you have any work experience. It has to be relevant work experience for that particular program of study that you're applying for.
And then, so the next person has asked, do we have job opportunities related to this program? Now, one of the things I will start off with the law school, we have our very own dedicated specialist legal careers team. So they do source internship work opportunities to forward on to our students to apply for directly, but those are general job opportunities that will be sent to all LLM students. They will also help you to develop your CV. If you're looking for an international career, you maybe have most of your career has been in your domicile country. They do many workshops, and they also host a jobs fair as well, like a careers fair, very early in the semester. And I know I've spoken to the team and they are still going ahead with that, even if it is online. Now, they will also be hosting their own careers webinar session for our offer holders, and that will probably happen around about August. And you'll get an invitation. As long as you're offer holder, you'll have an invitation to that career service. Now, some of the LLM specialisms, they have research institutes, and because they're linked very much with industry and their research, they do have internship opportunities, and they will distribute those accordingly for the specialist LLM students to apply for. So if something comes up in energy, then the energy students will find out about it. Yes. And they will forward on those opportunities. Now, with the international business, it's quite a broad area. So I don't know, Shalini, is there any
I will add to that. I mean, there are two things I want to add to that. Firstly, with international business law, I mean, in the last year in particular, I had, we appoint student representatives, so specialism representatives. And I was very, very fortunate to have two excellent representatives this past year. And they organize, so they have a budget. So the LLM program in the international business law has a budget. I mean, of course, this was when it was face-to-face. I mean, we will have to adopt this to an online method. They did a lot of careers events. So there were mock interviews, and there was, you know, on arbitration dispute resolution, there was a panel discussion. They also made sure that some guest speakers came in to talk about issues which are of broader application, so that, and there was a lot of work between international business law and commercial and corporate law. So there are, I mean, the budget covers not just, I mean, the remit of their duties covers not only organizing careers events, but careers events, social events, you know, and skills events and so on. So the careers events is useful because it's a student-led initiative, which helped the LLM students very much. So that's the first thing. I mean, we will have to adopt something similar this year as well. And I'm sure there's a lot of people who are working from home now. So I'm sure we will still be able to get panelists to come in and offer similar opportunities. The other is actually QM, the CCLS has based within its offices Q Legal, which offers opportunity for students to take up pro bono opportunities, and this is a kind of a law clinic which offers advice to startup businesses and so on. And this is also very good because you have the opportunity with working to work with legal practitioners in giving this advice. So those legal practitioners are also offering their services pro bono. Q Legal is, you know, and also at the department we have the Legal Aid Center, but Legal Aid Center is mostly for the undergraduates, but Q Legal is for the graduate students. So these are two initiatives as well, which offer you opportunity to find out more about career opportunities, and also to have opportunity to network, which is also very important in opening up career opportunities. Right, Petrova?
Yes, so will the career opportunities for the accelerated 9-month January be the same as the 12-month? Well, there may be things that you may have missed, so for instance, the job fair, because that happens usually around about October, November time, I think. Mm-hmm. So if you are on the January 9-month accelerator, you wouldn't have that opportunity to attend. Mm-hmm. Well, not that you wouldn't, but you may have missed that. But you will have access to the same career service, our legal career service, that our 12-month would have. And if you do want to do the 9-month accelerated, you will be allowed to access some of our resources and information beforehand. So you will have some access to our online provision prior to starting in January. But I just would like to note that if people are interested in deferring to January, that you do have to pay a deposit to secure that place, and that deposit is £4,000. So just please bear that in mind if you are thinking of deferring to January, because you do need to pay a deposit for that in advance. In terms of career opportunities, you will have access to our career service, the legal career service. Now, in terms of the Q legal work, I have a feeling that a lot of that would be recruited for and start in the first semester.
Yes.
So it's unlikely, I'll be realistic, that you'd be able to then start in January and join. And also you just have to bear in mind that if you're on the accelerated program, it is extremely intensive. Like the likelihood that you would have time to start participating in something like pro bono and other careers related opportunities is very, very slim, because the 12-month, you're basically squeezing a whole year's program into 12 months. So again, you'd have to think carefully about trying to pursue sort of career-related opportunities. But obviously you will have access to all of our workshops to help you develop your CV and start thinking about what you would like to do and how to start going about that.
Yes, and that's correct. Like I said at the start of when I was introducing the two types of entry, the 9-month might actually not be for everyone because it is very intensive. It is going to be very intensive, and as I said, you know, you'll be doing in 9 months what students typically do in a year. Of course, the options are also not going to be as flexible, because you're having to, I mean, you might think, you know, oh, well, you know, it's just 3 months here and there, but no, because you're going to have to also produce your dissertation, you're going to have to do essays. You know, some of the essays are, you know, 5,000 to 7,000 words. So it can be quite intensive. So you have to be realistic about what you might be able to achieve outside of your studies if you do start in January.
Okay, thank you. So someone has asked, someone's not available for the webinar. Will the week of presentations of modules still be in place? If you're referring to the induction week, then yes, we will still be hosting an induction for all the different modules at the start of the program.
And there would be also the sampler sessions, isn't it?
Yes.
Or not for every module, is it? Yes. I mean, the ones that we are doing next week, I think I'm down to do something next week.
Yes, you are. So we are hosting taster classes for particular specialisms, but that is ongoing over the next couple of weeks. So if you're registered for international business, you'll get an invitation to join this webinar, and you'll see in the invitation and registration form a drop list of the different webinars that are happening.
We'll have to rush through the others, I think, because we're having a few more coming in. But the question was about the entry tariff. Okay. So this is, I think, the question that we answered with the distinction merit one, I think.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, so the question was, so the entry tariff is a 2-1. So we mentioned that in a previous question. Yes. So it's 2-1. And if you do go slightly below that, then we will consider your other legal qualifications alongside extensive work experience related to that particular specialism. So I think we can move on. And can we get more info on accommodation for the night? Okay, for accommodation, someone's asked whether they can get more information on accommodation for 9-month January accelerated program. If you are, I think the deadline for accommodation is this month, it's the 30th of June, to guarantee that you have accommodation. So in theory, that means that you have to apply for the January program, pay the deposit to then secure your if you want to secure that accommodation. What I would recommend is that if you have an international recruitment manager that looks after your region from Queen Mary, they can best advise you on your accommodation for the 9-month accelerated, because I know that it's guaranteed for people that are starting in September. And if they apply by the 30th of January for the accommodation, that is the deadline. But if that person that's starting in September is doing blended learning and they are studying from September at home, then their accommodation would still be reserved for them for January when they come to the UK. But if you're starting a January 9-month program, I don't have all the details for that here. So I would definitely recommend contacting your recruitment regional manager. And if you don't know who that is, please just email me directly and I can let you know. If you email me the country that you reside in, that would be helpful. Then I could identify the person for you.
Right. So going on, what is next, Petrova? Here we have for the cross-border insolvency module. Do we need to have? Yes. I mean, we used to offer this. So for insolvency, we used to, do a module on, general concepts of insolvency, which was, in one semester, and then cross-border insolvency. But given that we might be actually moving these modules around, it's very, very likely that there would be the opportunity, flexible opportunity for you to take up cross-border insolvency. And the module would start with some introductory seminar on basic principles of corporate insolvency. Having said that, I want you to, and I can't actually, I was trying to find that out right now. We do have some modules which would say that, one is a prerequisite or there is a co-requisite. We've actually tried to remove as many of the prerequisites as possible. So for example, like in company law, we used to have a prerequisite of knowing the theoretical and foundational knowledge before going on to the corporate management and financial issues module. But in this scenario, we've actually removed that prerequisite. And so it is possible for students to take up what I teach, which is the management and financial issues, without taking up the foundational issues of company law. And how I will teach it is with a seminar which introduces some of those basic concepts. Of course, this does mean that you will have to do some learning on your own as well.
We just answer one quick general question, I think, as the last one, because a couple of people have asked, do they buy textbooks in advance of starting the program? And typically we would say no, because you don't choose your module. So textbooks are very expensive. So you could be sure that you're picking a particular module, but when you've attended that module at the induction, you realize actually this is not the program you had thought it was. So if you've already invested time and money into that module, this is quite disappointing. So we would always recommend, especially for a very broad-based LLM like the international business, is not to buy any textbooks, until you have completed the induction and you have registered for your modules, and then you will be assigned which books to read. Yeah. And I know that in the COVID time, it seems like quite a good idea to start buying the books and doing the reading. You may have more time at home, but this could actually be a waste of resource for you, and we wouldn't advocate that at this stage. And
also because we are also working on getting books online as well. So I know for my modules, we've managed to get subscriptions to certain books which students can access online. So actually the hard copies would be actually redundant in some sense for students to obtain. So your advice is perfectly right. Don't bother buying anything until you know for sure what you're going to be doing. And also some textbooks, and this is likely to be delayed because publishing houses are delayed in getting the textbooks out. They have newer editions coming out. I mean, they typically come out in the summer, but this year with all this, it's likely that we are going to have them coming out a little later. So it probably be September, October by the time some of the new editions come out. So it's not a good idea to get any textbooks before you start or have decided on what exactly you're going to be doing, and wait until you're given the updated reading list from your module convener.
Okay, and just before we finish, I'm just going to sneak in one quick last one, because it is even though it's a general one that could be relevant to a lot of people. So someone has asked, so when do we have exams and dissertations throughout the year? And now that COVID-19, are there any changes expected? Now, if you go onto your program page online, you can find the lesson the planner, the yearly academic planner, that will tell you roughly when your exams will be, what terms they will be, the dates, and when dissertations are due. So I would recommend going onto the website and you can check that out. And as far as we're aware, there will be no change. That those changes, there are no changes other than what has been published.
No.
So that's
the
right. Answer.
It should be, we have January exams, and we have, so I mean, at the end of each semester, of course, there's great flexibility in the types of assessment. Again, we can't really tell you too much about this, because much of that is left up to the module conveners. So it's not, I mean, within the LLM program, within, I think even the undergraduate program, there is different ways of assessing you. So it's not just traditional exams. It can be essays, it can be presentations, it can be group work, it can be videos which you do. So it can be a variety of ways in which you're assessed.
Yeah, thank you. Unfortunately, we have run over time. Yeah. So this is, so we're going to have to be finishing off the session now. So a sincere apologies for any outstanding questions. We've tried to get through quite a significant number. Again, thank you so much for joining us from all your different time zones and around the world. Just to reiterate that as offer holders, you will have an invitation to the taster class, which we hope that you'll be able to join us. And if you do have any really pressing questions, please feel free to email us at the university to help with that.
Well, thank you for, joining us. And again, as Petrova said, we are sorry we didn't get through all the questions. I think we have a few outstanding, but we look forward to welcoming you online, or virtually or in person to London very soon. Thank you.